185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast. What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are back and talking hardcore. Helping out, you know him, you love him. It is the best dressed man on the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
You say you've got to go home because he's sitting on his own again this evening.
Also up and out, it is Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Ben Edge, a.k.a. Bedge. What's up, Ben?
This is how we chill from 93 till infinity.
And rounding us out in a great line of people with one name, Madonna, Prince, Haku. Don't call him Cincinnati. It is Clevo. What's up, Cleveland?
What's up, guys?
What up, what up? Okay, this week we are doing a Super 7 for the year 1993. Not the best year for hardcore, but it's a year. So we're going to talk about it. Ben, what do you got on this year?
This is a really weird year. So if you like weird things, maybe there's stuff for you. First, shout out to Davey Bright. He does this thing where he puts together discographies, like every hardcore and every punk's record that came out in a given year. So he did one for 89, 90, 91, and 92, and he just did one for 93. So that helped us greatly. The thing about 93 is there isn't a damn thing that sounds remotely like it could have come out of the 70s or 80s. Like, so this is the most 90s year of the 90s, and also like the most schizophrenic year style wise. So Straight Edge is in full chug mode, NYHC is in full thug mode, and Pops says this a lot, but it's possible to have gotten into hardcore this year, hardcore in quotes, without ever actually having heard hardcore punk music. I'd say cover art is at an all-time low because you have everyone trying to figure out how to use computers and making dog shit cover art in the process. And then like recording quality is pretty bad too because it costs a lot of money to get a good recording at this point. Or you got to know kind of a magician of an engineer. And then so you have all these like streams. Amphetamine Reptile, which is putting out a lot of noise rock, that's in full swing. You have the Dam about to burst on pop punk and Epitaph stuff, and that whole major label feeding frenzy. So 93 is like the fully inflated balloon. Like Lookout Records puts out a lot of crucial records. This might be peak Lookout. The Muffs signed to Warner Brothers, put out their first album. Quicksand puts out their first album on Polydor. Green Day, Bad Religion, and Sick of It All, and Jawbox all signed to major labels. Recipe for Hate is released on Epitaph, and then it gets reissued on Atlantic within 93. Fugazi puts out what I have been told is their best-selling album ever, which is in the hundreds of thousands of copies. So that's a huge deal. Shelter, I'd say, is at peak Krishna at this point. Like all their members have those shikas, those like Krishna ponytails. Like if you look at pictures of Shelter throughout the years, like this is the only year where it's like, damn, they all look like monks. It's also a big year for emo core, like bands like Current and Chino Horde and Indian Summer. And also a lot of bands named after presidents like Hoover and Lincoln are coming out. And there's also this sort of emo pop punk crossover thing happening in Illinois. Bands like Cap'n Jazz, Friction, Gauge. And I'm sure all of them would hate to be labeled either emo or pop punk, but I call it like I hear it. And then Riot Girl is peaking at this point. Labels that are founded that I could look up were Teamwork Records. So shout out to Dan's favorite label owner ever. Hopeless, Watermark, Trouble Man Unlimited, debut releases from Spaz, 108, Falling Forward, Mike Judge and Old Smoke, Antioch Arrow, John Henry West, Mean Season, End of the Line, Floodgate, Still Life, Kerosene 454, Lincoln, 88 Fingers Louie, Strung Out, and 185 Trivia Stumpers, 25 to Life. The only other things I have are Scared Straight changed their name to 10 Foot Pole, and bands that break up, Born Against and Rorschach are the only ones I could find.
Dan, wake me up when it's over.
I'll wake you up when September ends.
Thank you. Yeah. Also, more importantly, Earth Crisis puts out their 7-inch Firestorm, huh? So the seas are a changing in the hardcore world. So, Dan, you have anything on this here, or should we jump into it?
I think the one thing that I think that is this is the apex of the time when all of these splinters are completely like, there's so many different lanes, but these shows are crossing over with each other in this time. Like this and 94, probably like the apex of like all of these different genres that these bands don't sound anything alike are still playing somewhat together. There'll be few anomalies going, into the mid to late 90s, and it'll still be happening. But around this time, it's like DIY spaces and punk spaces, like everyone's got a share really. And a lot of the bands sound so different. So there's a thing where as a hardcore kid, you are into many of these different streams at the time because that is your scene. And that's really hard for people who, are young or maybe were in scenes where it was like very regimented, but for the most part, across the world, lots of bands that sounded extremely different were playing in the same shows, and lots of people that go into those shows were liking a lot of it, or at least, tolerating a lot of it while having their favorite stuff. So, I mean, I would say as this being like probably my entry year, even though I was like listening to stuff in 92, this is like where I was like just going crazy.
Clevo, do you want to say anything on this year before we get started?
Yeah, this is the year I moved back to the States from Germany. But I will say that this is possibly the most unhardcore year of my life. And looking at the list that I put together for tonight, I think the only record that we would consider hardcore, and it's going to be a stretch, would be Quicksand. Is probably the only hardcore record I bought this year. I missed out on a lot of this stuff, which obviously went back and saw it. I also saw Quicksand on the Slip tour at Red Rocks in Colorado, which is kind of crazy to think about Quicksand playing at a place like where that U2 live record and that live video comes from. Opening for Anthrax with John Bush on vocals, so that was an experience.
Hell yeah. Yeah, this year's wild. Comparing it to 92 and my lists, 92, my list was not long, but there were like all-time classics, in my opinion, that like I had to get on my list. And 93 has, like, my list is a lot longer, but it's stuff I don't love as much as 92. Outside, actually, yeah, completely. So a longer list of bands that are not doing necessarily their best stuff compared to 92, where some of my favorite bands are doing their all-time best stuff. Okay, Dan, let's jump into it. Tell everyone what a Super 7 is and let everyone know the order.
Okay, so a Super 7, we are competing to make the best mixtape or playlist. We have a round system where we go in order of the picks, and this time it will be me first, Clevo second, Zach third, Ben fourth, and we can all take the same bands, but once a song has been chosen, it is gone and cannot be taken again. And later on in the week, we open it up to you, the wonderful listener, to vote on whose mix you thought was the best, who had the best collection of songs, and and then you can yell at us why we didn't take this or this or this, and we love to hear that too.
Dan, are you taking Firestorm or are you getting yogurt hurled at your head?
Well, I am, I'm going to perform some Supreme Court type stuff right now. So in the past, there is a precedent here where I have taken Firestorm into Forged in the Flames as my pick for the Straight Edge Super 7, and I will be taking that combination again right now as my number one pick.
Respect it. Live the gimmick.
Got to. And I mean, Reggie, I know you're psyched on Firestorm, but Firestorm, yes, it is, like you said earlier, Zach, it is the changing of the seas. It is providing that inspirational, like, zeitgeist and, like, almost like devotee motif that was given to a lot of the Youth Crew stuff, and it is transitioning that energy into a much different sound. It's really abrupt, chuggy, like almost sounds like the world is coming to an end with some of those dive bombs and stuff, and it is just power through the voice, through the lyrics. Carl's voice, beside, you could argue the Firestorm demo versus the Firestorm EP release where his voice sounds the best, but it never gets better than here. Like, his voice is incredible on this thing. It is metallic without being metal. It is just pure, excellent hardcore voice. And, Ben Reed's still in the band doing those amazing, like, screamy style backups that you can hear from time to time. And the transition from Firestorm into Forged in the Flames is just amazing. Like, you can grab both straps of your backpack and start, like, nodding and moving to that. It's just so good. Like, and, for constant listeners to the pod, these are two titanium backbone songs for that ass. Like, this will, if you are straight edge and you listen to these songs, they will make you feel 1,000 foot tall. Like, it doesn't get, this is some of the best hardcore ever for me. So that's why I'm choosing it number one.
Yeah, his voice is so perfect on this recording. And then also, there's something here that's like, even though this is metal and this is really the turning of the seas of hardcore going metal, with Earth Crisis being like leading the charge, there is, especially in this song, it's like kind of the best of punk, right? Like, because you are stripping off all the bullshit and they're just coming with like this simplicity. Like, it's a creative simplicity that's here in this song. And so while it is very metal in that aspect, it's also very punk in like the simple spirit of it. And like some of the over the topness, of the lyrics. Also, there's just so much good stuff here. Like this song, Firestorm. I love when it comes in at the end when he's going, the firestorm to purify. And it's on the toms. And then he keeps repeating that line over and over. But then when it switches to it goes back to the Raining Blood part, dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
on the hi-hat. It's like, oh God, the music changes behind the vocals being the same. So there are these little like tricks tucked in there that make this song so spectacular. So yeah, it's a great pick. It should probably go number one for this year, just because of, first off, it's awesome. Second off, the impact of it. But and it's a Dan 1-2 special. Ben, you want to speak on this, or should we send it to Clevo for his number one?
It was my number one, so you took my number one, Dan. I knew you were going to take it anyway, but that was my number one. Yeah, it's incredible, and it makes me wonder why Carl's voice didn't stay this way. It's like, no, you've got it. It's perfect. Keep doing that. Don't change. It's like Roger Murray on Victim in Pain. It's like, nope, that's it. Just keep doing that. But it wasn't meant to be.
Clevo, do you want to speak on this, or do you want to take your number one?
I will go ahead and take my number one. I'm also going to do the Dan twofer, and I will be taking Numb, Into Blind of Faith, on Ringworm's The Promise, the opening track. The intro being the old Die Hard intro that Ringworm lifted, and after, of course, the classic "There Is No God," kicking into that riff, and then just into "Blind to Faith," which I think is really the standout track on this record. Anyways, it doesn't have a lot of that. It doesn't have that that grindy feel to it. It's more of a straightforward hardcore song. It has groove to it. Great and just human furnace. James's delivery is just fucking spot on this. Great band, great track, and got to represent Cleveland. So I will be taking that with my first pick.
Aren't they from Cincinnati?
The little double kick on this is so good. The dun dun dun. Oh, yeah, this song's great. Classic opening track, classic record. We talk Ringworm in this era a ton on the pod. I think they come up a lot, and this is probably the standout. Although I got a couple choices here. I think Ringworm's going to make my list too.
I think aside from the instrumental and the Angry Samoans cover, you could probably take any track off of this, and I can't see anyone being upset about that.
I was actually considering taking the instrumental because it is like one of the most YOLO tracks ever. So, but I don't think I will. We will see. I'm going to take my number one, and I'm going to take... Oh, God. Let's see here. I'm going to take... This is probably my second favorite Bad Religion song ever. I'm going to take Bad Religion's Skyscraper. It is the last song on Recipe for Hate. I love this song so much. And this is wild because this is the first Bad Religion LP that I think is not great. Although there are some songs on here that I do think are great, like the first track, Kerosene, and this song, Skyscraper, and American Jesus. But otherwise, like, they get very, they get experimental, right? Like, it's very of the time. Like, Eddie Vedder sings on a song. Like, they're very grunge-ish. Like, when you listen to the guitars, like, on headphones, it's like, do these even sound like guitars? Like, what's going on here? It's, like, so layered, and they're doing lots of wonky stuff. Also, like, the way they record the drum. I swear to guys, this is my favorite track in 93, but let me shit on it a little more. The way they record the drums is just fucking atrocious. Like, this guy, Bobby Shayer, joins the band. He joined on the last record, Generator, where the songs are so good, like, you can kind of look past the recording, even though it's a little brighter, but it's like definitely, it's a stretch from, that run they had from Suffer through Against the Grain. It gets like kind of overproduced, even though I hate that word. But this one is just like, God, they made Bobby sound like a bitch. Like, it's like, I know he's like a good drummer. You can hear it, right? Like, he's playing fast. He's doing like double time, but like, it just sounds so shitty. And in the background, it just like, I don't know. It sucks. Like, there's no energy on this record, but there are some songs that shine through in spite of that. Like this song, Skyscraper. It's an absolute perfect Bad Religion song. Everything about it. It's like the verses are so good. It leads to a chorus. It's great. And it's got a great little lead, a little bridge that goes to a great lead and then comes back to the chorus, and just all around straight perfect song, in spite of this dog shit recording. Yeah, I love it. And it's like one of those songs, like when I was listening today to my short list, this song, I was listening to it when I was walking from my car to my pad, and I was like, this is like one of those songs, like we've said on the pod plenty of times, hardcore music's the best, punk and hardcore is my favorite music. And I hate when, people talk about punk and hardcore like it's othered, right? Like, oh, it's good for a hardcore song. Oh, it's good for a punk song. Like, this music, when it's at its best, is like 100% my favorite music, and I'm not playing. It's not like, oh, this is my favorite punk stuff, but deep down, like, Led Zeppelin's got it on Bad Religion. It's like, no, like, this is my favorite music in the world, you know, and this is like one of those songs that like reminds me, like it's got everything I like, you know what I mean? So that's that. My number one, Bad Religion, Skyscraper, the final song off Recipe for Hate. Although it is infuriating, another thing about the song, there's like 30 seconds of silence at the end of it. I think it's like leading into some bonus track on the CD. And for whatever reason, they just didn't edit it for the streaming version. So whatever. At least I'm not the first song on the playlist. And by the way, everyone, 185milessouth.com, click that playlist link at the top of the page, and you can check out the playlist of all the songs that we choose today. Although, spoiler alert, it is up there right now. So if you want to not have the spoilers, listen to the episode first and then check it out. But be sure to jam it. Ben, do you want to speak on this, or should I send it to someone else?
To Ben.
Well, you'd be sending it to me because I'm number 4. I got the Nard curse.
Well, I might send it to Clevo or Dan to say something on it. I was just giving you first shot.
Oh, that's true. Shit. Okay. Yes, this was on my list of possibles. So I do absolutes, possibles, and honorables when I come up with these lists to play these Super 7 games.
How long those honorables are.
Oh man. Well, because I'm also reading off the possibles that I didn't use. But absolutes, I had the Earth Crisis song. Possibles, I had the Bad Religion song. And honorables, I had the Ringworm song. So I think we are in lockstep with each other, at least in round 1. Yeah, this is probably the best song on this Bad Religion album. And I totally agree. This is like their first not great album. I don't know if I've really zoned in on the drums the way you have, Zach. But it never was a distraction for me. This is a great song. Anybody else want to talk on it?
I just will add, like, to Zach's analysis, that the production is so weird. They are shooting for alternative radio on this record. That, like, they are trying to like wrap themselves up in that grunge zeitgeist while still being, you know, the band they are. This was the album where it was very hard for me to pick many songs. Skyscraper is good, but this is, like you say, this is the Bad Religion record where you're like, oh, the new Bad Religion. Oh, God, it's pretty boring, isn't it?
You know what's wild is like the first show I went to was it was like this death metal show at the Camarillo State Hospital, which Dan, help me out with what I should use here. Do you know what that is? Like what is the proper way to say an insane asylum in 2023?
Mental institution.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this show was at a mental institution. It was like a death metal band from our beach in Silver Strand, Oxnard, California, and then also like some other death metal band. And yeah, and it was just like 20 metalheads and then like the patients from the place. And dude, it was wild. But so I was outside hanging out with like some long hairs that I didn't know. And one of them was talking and they're like, dude, you know, it's a trip. You know who's playing here next month? And they're like, woohoo. And he's like, Bad Religion, man. They're coming here. Like they just put out this album, you know? And he's like, I don't really like them, but I'm going to come here and check it out. I was like, what? Like, and I always remember that because, like, you know, I'd seen the name and that logo, but I wasn't into Bad Religion yet. And that is wild if Bad Religion played Camarillo State Hospital in 93. What the fuck? That's all I got. Ben, let's go to you for your number 1.
Yeah, I'm going to, since I was unable to steal Dan's first pick, I will
Don't do it, Ben.
I will steal
Don't do
Dan's
it.
second pick. I'm going to read you the lyrics to this entire song because there aren't many. Got a lot of questions for me. You got a lot of questions for me. Got your finger pointing at me. Distrusted. I look for wires when I'm talking to you. Distrusted. I look for wires when I'm talking to you'd make a great cop. You'd make a great
You
cop.
pig.
You pig. This is Great Cop by Fugazi. And for anyone who says Fugazi isn't a punk band, okay. Fugazi isn't a punk band in the traditional sense. This song is. In fact, Ian MacKaye wrote it in 1981 for his band Skewbald Grand Union, and just sat on it for 12 years. So this is the most punk sounding Fugazi song and the best song on their In on the Killtaker LP. if you want to slam, which I'm sure that the band would disapprove of, put this fucker on. I think when he wrote the song in '81, it was like the beginning of people kind of challenging him on the whole straight edge thing. I'm just, speculating because this is like late '81. The first 2 Minor Threat 7 inches are already out. People are stepping to him, like challenging him on shit he's written in his lyrics. And he's saying, God, you sound like a cop the way you're interrogating me. So also really cool bass, like, what do you call those? Like bass harmonics. So the most Minor Threat sounding Fugazi song. And was I right, Dan? This was your pick, right?
Yeah, and it was such a cop move of you to take it.
I was going to take Firestorm too, but fuck the order.
I don't think that anyone's tried to argue that Fugazi is not a punk band. We've just argued that they're not a hardcore band. Like, punk is a bigger umbrella than hardcore is. So I don't think that anyone would argue that Fugazi is not punk. Like, in fact, their punk ethos are like kind of up there at the top of the heap, So don't got to get all defensive. Leave Ian alone. We will, Ben. Fugazi, great punk band. Dan, you want to speak on this?
Well, it's incredible, and it is a hardcore song. So there's that. It is the ultimate skate video song. Like, I swear, like you put a skate part to this, like it's making you look better than the tricks you're doing. I'm bummed I didn't get it, but shall I just roll into my next pick?
I just want to say this song always makes me want to buy a new pair of Etnies.
See, there you go. It's doing its job.
Go ahead,
because
Dan.
I'm going to take Public Witness Program off this record. This is another rager off of In on the Kill Taker. The eyes have it and they always will. It's so good. And then there's like Ben's touching on like their use of like harmonics and I mean, Fugazi is so groovy. God, that sounds so 60s. Hey man, they're so groovy. They have like such groove in the music. Like the rhythm section is just unbelievable. And what Ian and Guy do on the part where it goes into the God, this is a song that I wouldn't say has a chorus, but it transitions into this part where it's going like, I like to walk around it, I'm paid to stand around it. Like when it transitions to that part and they're doing like kind of harmonics on the guitar, it is so amazing. Like this song is incredible. This is my favorite Fugazi album by a mile. And I'm bummed I didn't get Great Cop, but I'm glad I got Public Witness Program. And you never know. Might even take something else.
Far out, man. Ben, what's your take on this?
Yeah, this is like probably the other very catchy song on this album. And I think Fugazi later on, they kind of strayed away from writing extremely catchy songs. And I'm not sure why, or I don't know. I don't know if that was an intentional thing. Like, hey, let's stop writing songs with hooks in them. Or I don't know where their heads were at, but like, this is sort of the end of getting albums like that mostly consist of very listenable music from Fugazi, in my opinion. I know there's people who ride for the later stuff, but it's few and far between with the later stuff. So this is kind of like the end of, I don't know, the classic era of Fugazi.
Clevo, do you want to speak on this, or do you want to take your number 2?
Yeah, just really quick. I had this song on my short list. I love the part like after that is totally a chorus because they keep going back to it where it's like I like to walk around. Yeah, but after that when it builds up and it's like, can I get a witness for it? And it goes back into the chorus. It's so good. Yeah, great song. glad it's on here, but I probably would have taken it with my second pick if it was still there. But since it's not, I'm going to take my second pick and go a totally different direction. I'm going to take Rorschach in Ruins off of the Protestant LP. It's a second track on the LP and has some sort of anti-work, anti-boss lyrics to it, which I always like. It just, we've talked about Rorschach probably every record that they've put out on these podcasts, and I think that you see the progression from Remain Sedate to Protestant. If I was thinking better, the last time we did one of these Super 7s, I would have saved Skin Culture and taken the LP version, and would have probably taken Brain Handle off of one of the splits. But since I took Skin Culture on the last one, I'm going to take In Ruins here. And just this, like we've talked about YOLO. This has all the YOLO you need and more. It just like hits those just really fast, like just really grindy parts. Charles's voice is so screechy on this, and yeah, we've talked about Rorschach a lot. I've professed my love for this band, and actually I do have hanging above my fireplace in my living room the Pusshead print of the cover of this album. I love this record. So Rorschach, they're great. We've said it on every podcast that they've had a record out that year.
Yeah, we may have talked this band more than any other pod. And we did a head-to-head on the two Rorschach LPs, I believe on the Mike Cheese episode, so everyone can go back in the archives and check that out. Dan, do you want to speak on this, or should I take my number two?
I just think that there's a reason that we keep talking about this, because they are an extreme game changer, just like the Earth Crisis is a game changer within the seeds of like hardcore changing. Rorschach is one of those ones that later on timing core will come flying out the gates after Rorschach led the way, but his voice is just epic. We just talked about Carl having a perfect voice at the time. Charles's voice is just so brutal.
I mean, his voice
fantastic.
is so shredded on this record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Clevo.
What's crazy is, this is the end of Rorschach. The next year you get Dead Guy.
Yep. Timing core.
And then, but then, Dead Guy, I think adds a little bit more rock, a little more AmRep to it. Whereas, then like, what is it? Like 3 years after this, 4 years is you go back to Kiss It Goodbye, which is really, I feel like is more of an extension of Rorschach than
but in between that, you've got Dillinger Escape Plan.
Yeah. Keith, I feel like Keith, it's all about Keith on guitar too, though, with the Rorschach to Dead Guy to Kiss It Goodbye. But yeah, this is, I think this is like the peak. This is the mold.
Yeah, I think this record is more influential than the first one, although I do enjoy the first one more. Okay, my number two, I am going to take the Rancid song Another Night off the first LP. And this was hard to nail down what song I wanted. I love the song Hyena, and it was probably the first Rancid song I listened to because it was on one of those Punkorama comps. And then also I thought about taking Detroit because it is such a great song, and it would have trolled Ben because the bass on that song is wild as fuck. Like, if you hate the Matt Freeman bass shit, that song is like your mortal enemy because he just goes for it the entire song, including from the intro. And then the chorus is wild, but it's so good. And then also, like, something that can't be overlooked on this record is like the darkness of it. Like, so you have some songs like Rats in the Hallway is like, ooh, like this music it's not really matched like from this LP. This is kind of like a standalone LP that they don't kind of touch back on. There's just like this darkness that runs through it. But Another Night is one of my favorite songs on the record. And I think that to represent this record well, you do need to have a big Matt Freeman part. So maybe I'm not going all the way and taking Rejected where he sings the whole thing, but he does do like the another night in the streets for me, and then it goes back to Tim. It's so nice, like the way their voices bounce off each other. And Lars comes in on the next record, Let's Go, and he probably has the best voice of the three of them. But Tim and Matt going back and forth, like it's just so great because it's semi-melodic punk and it's driving, but like these two dudes just have like psychopathic voices. Like but they just work so well together. It's like whose voice is uglier, but why doesn't it sound bad? Like it just sounds great. And this song is just so catchy. It's like those nice major chords and pretty perfect punk song. Dan, are you going to get Rancid onto your list? Do you think in number 7?
There's a good chance, especially since you maybe didn't take Hyena, so you never know. But I love this song, the way he makes the verse lines almost catchier than you described the chorus really well, but in the dark with the Oakland skyline, like they're so catchy.
All I wanna do is give her a dying. All I want, yeah, it's so good, dude. Everyone, check it out on the playlist. If you don't love Rancid, it's never too late to be a believer.
And like Zach says, this, like, you may be familiar with like Ruby Soho and all the things like that, but this record is dark as fuck. Like, it is so grimy. Grimy is the perfect description for the way this sounds compared to the rest of their catalog.
And his storytelling in the lyrics on this record are so visceral.
Yeah, like, it's full East Bay like despair.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, that's that. Ben, let's go to you for your number 2.
All right. I'm going to pick something that Clevo might have had on his list, so I got to be strategic about this. I'm doing a song by the band Statue, and I'm going to do the song Filter the Infection off of the Filter the Infection EP on Revelation Records. This is a band that started as a side project of Chain of Strength, Alex and Chris from Chain of Strength. So Alex was the bass player of Chain. He is the singer of Statue, and Chris, the drummer, plays drums. And there's a couple other guys, and a couple guys from San Diego, I believe. This was recorded actually at West Beach Studios, where all the Epitaph stuff at the time was done. Pennywise instead. So it's very high quality recording quality. And this song is like, the way I think of this song is like, this is like an improved version of Fugazi. This is like, I know it's like not correct to say this, but this is like a better version of Fugazi to me. Like, I feel just as guilty as saying that as I do when I think about how I kind of like the Misfits more than the Ramones. Like, that's not right. The Ramones are better. I should be thinking that, but God damn it. They beat Fugazi at their own game. Filter the Infection. You have an Italian couple yelling at each other in Italian at the beginning. I have no idea why. And then this incredible bass line comes in, and God knows what they're even singing about, but it's the catchiest thing in the world. And it's like epic. There's like 7 parts to this song. Each one incredible. Hard to pull off.
Ben, she didn't cut the onions thin enough. If you use a razor blade.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
He didn't cut the onions.
Okay, fair enough. My bad. I'm not well versed in my Rev college years. I'm stoked that you plucked a song off this. I've tried to get into this a couple times because it is interesting, right? It's the post Chain Strength band, and it's got Bratton on it, and I am pretty much a mark for Bratton. So I will check this track on the playlist. Clevo, was this on your short list?
Yeah, this record, as you guys know, I was trying to find it on Spotify and couldn't find it earlier today. I just wasn't searching well enough. But yeah, it's great. It's not, if you go in thinking like it's members of Chain Strength, it's not going to sound like that. it's I feel like it's San Diego, you know, like it's like if you said like, oh yeah, it's like Chance Strength, but it's like got like that little San Diego feel to it. It's like, yeah, I think that's like really like of what was coming out of San Diego at that time. I think it kind of makes sense.
Dan, do you hear the sprung monkey in this?
No, it sounds way more unwritten law to me.
Okay. Do you want to speak on this, or do you want to take your number 3?
I'll just take my number 3. I mean, they summed it up really well. Although it doesn't out Fugazi. I'm sorry. Okay. My next 2 picks are gonna be. I mean, they're amazing songs in their own right, but I am gonna be picking these, based on lyrical content too, like or primarily because of lyrical content, and that's one of the beauties of discovering hardcore around this time. Is just there were so many songs that were, I mean, hardcore throughout time has had so many songs really saying something, but 2 of these that I'm probably, if my 4th pick is around while I'm there, I'll take it. But this, I'm going with Unseen Holocaust by Earth Crisis. I think this is, an absolute amazing lyrical feat, and also the song structure is incredibly it's just really driving, but the way that it's doing the what?
You should have just taken this second. You would have had the whole Earth Crisis 7-inch.
No, Eden's Demise is still out there for someone.
That's on the CD version only, the 7-inch.
Yeah, but it came out this year.
Fair.
But
I didn't say the Earth Crisis CD EP.
Yeah. Well, I think this, the storytelling of this song and talking about basically, the white pillage of America from native folks is just an incredibly well-written song and very visceral. And then the last verse being the cherry on top of just the disgustingness of this, the way it comes back in, and just the chorus of like the arrow shaft lays broken, it's really visceral. And a young Daniel Sant was just like, this took me away to like really just seeing it viscerally in my mind. I think when a song can do that to you and make you almost see this, like what's unfolding in these lyrics, and especially I think this is probably around the time of like, some films dealing with this, like Dances with Wolves and stuff like that as well, perhaps in pop culture. But the way that this is just, every word is like important in this song, and the way it just constructs this story and image and history and the real history is just, I think, incredible. And I think the tying it in to what's happening in the rainforest at the time, and they're still happening today, but tying the native folks of America story to the native folks of the Brazilian Amazon rainforest, I think is just a really clever lyrical choice, and I think it's just a brilliantly written song, and I love the music too. But I just echo, like, anytime a song can take you away to completely make you just, almost just see everything in front of you, I think it's just has a massive impact.
Yeah, this is my favorite Earth Crisis song. There are lines in here that are so good. Like, now the arrow shaft lays broken where the grasses dripped with blood. Good God, man. So good. And that lead, the dun, 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 So good. It's like my favorite Earth Crisis part of any song, especially, I had talked on Firestorm how it goes from the toms while he's saying a firestorm to purify, and then it switches to the hi-hat and the chugs. That too, like, has an add-on part. It's doing that lead, and then when it goes to that China on the upbeats, so sick. And then the other thing is, like, I love that I never like broke down like the structure of the song, but I like that it straight up, like, kind of, the parts are so separated. Like when it cuts out and it just goes dun 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 dun. I guess that's going into the verses. But it's so sick. Like, the song has those resets like in the middle of it. There's just such a confidence in this album, and especially in the song, because like this one's a little longer. It's like, I mean, they're all a departure from All Out War, but this is one with those like resets, what I'm calling them in the song. Is just like, what's up, dude? We're writing some seriously heavy shit, both like musically and lyrically, and we're confident enough to like take our time with it, let these riffs breathe, and yeah, it's sick. This is as good as it gets, And Dan bogarted all the Earth Crisis songs. Eden's Demise, I never really make it that far. My love for Earth Crisis is very limited to this 7-inch and then that Gomorrah Season In song. But when they're great, and it's undeniable. Okay, let's see here. Clevo, do you want to speak on this, or do you want to take your number 3?
I'll go on with my next pick.
Okay.
I am going to take. I'm already between two songs. I'm going to take from the Los Crudos split with Huasipongo, the song Asesinos. Another band that I feel like we talk about a lot on here, and rightfully so. Very influential. And I think that, influenced, a lot of other things. We don't really see a lot of like straightforward punk or hardcore, like fast bands. I feel like everything, is either like a little grindy or a little groovy, or, is like just plotting and whatever, because there's so many influences coming in. And, you have Crudos, being so prolific and having so many damn records and so many songs, just playing fast, balls out hardcore, and, political, and, almost like 99% of their songs are in Spanish. I just think that, I say it every time we talk about them, they're just like an extremely important band, and, everything's great, the whole discography. So, take your pick from anything they put out, but yeah, definitely. The lyrics on this, talking about comparing Bush to Pinochet, Hitler, and Baby Doc is, kind of says it all about where they're coming from.
Yeah, this is one of those like dartboard bands, right? Throw a dart, anything you land on is gonna rip. Special band, memorable band, and really now, this far removed, 25-ish years, iconic band. One of the goats. So that's that. Let's see here. Dan, do you want to speak on this before I take my number 3?
Well, this is any of these songs off of this EP. I like Crudo Soy probably the most because of the bass sound, but
and that's what I was between. I was between Crudo Soy on the whatever that record is called.
Yeah, the one with the old man on the cover. God, I can't remember, but that would have been my probably Crudo's choice from this year. But the thing that like Ben talked about, not really, if you're a fan of 80s hardcore, well, Crudos are going to give it to you. They're going to give you that fast, raging core and almost be a little too out of control for you if you love the 80s stuff. But yeah, Crudo's incredible. Like, there's a reason that this band reverberates through time, and this is 30 years ago. These songs are, amazing.
I am going to, let's see here. Oh man. Okay. In the Super 7 for the year 2022, I broke that ice and I took an instrumental song. I took that Speed song because it was the riff of the year, and I had to make my list. This time I am going to take an instrumental song too, but it is not the Ringworm instrumental. I am taking the Screeching Weasel song, Talk to Me Summer. And it was a while back when we did the Patreon episode, the Fab Five Beauty and the Beast, the first one. And Ben, you were speaking of a Madonna song, and you said, if I'm ever a director of a movie, I'm going to pay all the money I need in the world to have the Madonna song Borderline. Is that correct?
It was Into the Groove. Yeah.
Into the Groove. Yeah, you're going to have it in the movie. And like, this is like my song like that. Like, if I ever had a movie like roll credits and it was like going for that feel good ending, like this would be it, And all the bands out there that don't know, that are doing like poppy-esque music, in hardcore adjacent, dude, just listen to this song on loop like 10 or 20 times, and maybe you'll learn how to write some little leads, some little guitar hooks, because this thing is sick. And and Ben Weasel, notorious possible asshole, shuts the fuck up, which makes it great as well. So shout out. That is my choice. Ben, you ruined our 90s list by ranking a Screeching Weasel album higher than my favorite one, My Brain Hurts. How do you feel about this song? Are you even familiar with this song? I think you chose Wiggle, not this one. This one's off the other. They did 2 records in 93.
I chose this one.
This is off Anthem for a New Tomorrow. Okay, Dan, are you familiar with this song?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny that you were saying, like, you think it would be when credits are rolled, but I think if this was like a rom-com with a meet cute, this instrumental could be like a sped up version of all the fun things they did in the first couple days of the relationship. Like it could soundtrack that too. But yeah, it's catchy, it's great. It makes me wonder why that they didn't make it into a song to sing over.
I don't know. It's like so sick the way it is, and like sometimes doing these Super 7s is awesome, and sometimes it blows because like you narrow it down to the short list, and then I have to like hammer and listen to these songs like a million times, and sometimes I get sick of them. And because like a lot of times they'll be my favorite songs, right? Like Skyscraper. It's like, do I want to listen to this like 20 times this week? Well, maybe that song's so good I do. But like some of these songs, like I listen to them, a bunch of times, and I'm like, God damn, I love this song. But then I listen to them too many times, I'm like, God damn, I hate this song. And this Screeching Weasel, every time when it came on, I narrowed down from like 5 songs down to this one, and it's just like, fucking A, dude. I could listen to the song back to back to back to back over and over and over, and it never gets old to me.
What about Peter Brady off this album? Is so good.
Okay, I'll check it out.
The song Peter Brady is so good, and I love it because it's like talking about the plot. The lyrics are about the plot of many Brady Bunch things, where he's like got 2 dates in 2 different rooms, and he's trying to, it's really good. I really like that song.
Well, let's shoot it over to our friend that lives that Playboy lifestyle, Ben, for his number 3.
Ben Weasel. Ben the other Weasel.
Ben the Seal.
That's right.
That's funny.
Shout out.
You picked Talk to Me Summer because my go-to song on this album is Inside Out, which is the very next song. And for so long, I counted the tracks incorrectly on the CD and thought that the song Inside Out, the song I would always listen to, was actually called Talk to Me Summer because I counted wrong. But anyway, think about it this way. The song right after Inside Out is Peter Brady. So there you have Zach's, mine, and Dan's favorite Screeching Weasel songs all in order. And these are my two favorite albums by Screeching Weasel. Both came out in 1993, Wiggle and Anthem for New Tomorrow. So Lookout Records is just bodying it this year. They're crushing it before the money just flows in from, all the posers who got into Green Day in 94 going back and buying all the fucking pre-Dookie Green Day material. So for my number 3, I'm going with what I consider the sequel to No Spiritual Surrender by Inside Out. And that is the song Cutting Away by Undertow. It is on the Stalemate EP. The lyrics to this song there's even fewer lyrics than Great Cop by Fugazi. It's try to cut me down, try to break my spirit, but you will not break me down. Those are the whole lyrics, just singing over and over again. And it's just like, there doesn't need to be any more lyrics. It's like, that's the message. And it's just like the ultimate, like, self-esteem song. Like, you can't break me, fuck you. And when you're bobbing your head like an Orthodox Jewish guy praying at the Wailing Wall to Earth Crisis with your with your thumbs in your backpack straps, when this song comes on, you're banging your head even harder. This is very 1993. It rules. They're from Seattle. Check them out.
This song has so much YOLO. Like, what is going on here on some of these parts? Like, there's Chug, and then like there's that one part where it goes fast, like kind of out of nowhere. Like one time it's like doing kind of a sloppy, slow blast beat, I think. But it's sick. Like, you don't really know where the song is going. And yeah, it's a great track. Good call on this one, Ben. Clevo, do you want to speak on this, or should we shoot it to Dan for his number 4 or possible Undertow commentary?
Nothing to add except that I also had this on my list. So then snake me again.
Clevo's getting jacked this episode. 93 is not the best year for hardcore or Clevo's luck. Okay, Dan, you want to speak on this, or you want to take your number 4?
Well, Ben stole another from me and from Clevo.
Well, they don't call him the other weasel for no reason, Dan.
That's right. He's the aquatic weasel. All right, so I'm gonna keep going with that, with a song lyrically that floors me, and it's going to continue the theme of the Unseen Holocaust lyrical content too. So I'm going with Fugazi, Smallpox Champion. Now, this song is incredible musically. It is catchy. It is just jazzy almost. Like, it's very straightforward punk, but it's also jazzy at the same time. But the lyrics are just unreal. Like, the same, it's dealing with the fact that the US government gave blankets laced with smallpox to native tribes, and the delivery of these lyrics and stuff, and the way that Guy does the cha 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 champion, like on the catchier parts of the song, it's incredible. But I mean, let me just give you how it starts, like lyrically. Smallpox champion, US of A. Give natives some blankets, warm like the grave. This is the pattern cut from the cloth. This is the pattern designed to take you right out, right out, right out. Like, it's just dealing with, not only have they been moved to reservations and completely dehumanized and their way of life been taken, this was the government they were looking to for help. And it just, I mean, it's the most disgraceful chapter in American history of many disgraceful chapters. But this just captures how sickening and disgusting it is. You know, what a blight on our collective, you know, history. I think this is an absolute brilliant song lyrically, but it's also so catchy, so driving, so fast, and I don't know. Just listen to it on the playlist. I think you're going to really like it.
I sense a pattern here. Clevo, do you want to speak on this, or do you want to take your number 4?
I guess I'll go straight for my number 4.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we've just talked about everything else so much that I don't really have anything else to add. You know what? I'm going to go back to the Bad Religion well, and I'm going to take Kerosene.
Hell yeah.
Off of Recipe for Hate. Like we said before, not a great record. I fucking love this song though. This is such a great song. It has the melodies. I think it is, a little bit more melodic than a lot of the Bad Religion songs that, we've talked about and I've picked for other things. But yeah, I just, the chorus is just so good. And then it has like that little solo that it plays out, and yeah, love this song.
Yeah, these lyrics are wild. Are they about being an unhoused person?
Yes. Are they about being an unhoused person, or an unhoused person who commits arson, or an unhoused person who burns down whatever they're living in?
Yeah, that Buildings Rage song is a strange line, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like it kind of takes a turn there. Yeah, I love this song. As I stated when I took Skyscraper, this is the first song. Skyscraper is the last song, and then American Jesus is like that third slot banger. And that's the record. Everything else is, I don't know, that Man on a Mission song is kind of neat. People like, when I've seen criticism of this record, I've seen people bag on like that slide guitar on that song, and it's actually kind of like neat. I think it kind of works. What they should be bagging on is the weak ass way that these drums were recorded. So that's that. But yeah, great pick. I love this song. It was on my short list. Like I said, those 3 songs. Okay. I am going to, like Clevo chase my Bad Religion pick, I am going to chase his Ringworm pick, and I am going to take Necropolis. This is a perfect song off this record, and let me run you all through it. So that bass riff on the beginning is so good. And then the way they build up by adding like the guitar over the top, like doing the ring outs, and then going to the guitar riff following the bass riff, so good. Then it cuts out on the little bass part, and then it goes fast with a brutal scissor beat on the verse. And then the part I like too is, instead of, they're going to transition to doing the second verse, there's no chorus here. Instead of going back to like a bass cutout, this time they do like a single string guitar cutout. So sick. And then goes back to the scissor beat on the verse. There's a perfect breakdown on here too. Like the riffage is so good, and it's sick the way that it jumps back and forth between like the open strumming and the palm muting. It almost gives like an Infest vibe, although this is definitely like more breathy than Infest would be. But like the way that it's going back and forth between those two things kind of gives me that vibe. And then it's all building to go back to that intro riff to end the song. So it's just like a straight up perfect song with so much YOLO in there, so much Savage riffery. And then speaking of Savage, we're not even talking about Human Furnace, his voice, which is, one of the greatest things about Ringworm, and I haven't touched on it yet, but good God, he sounds so good on this song. He sounds so good on this whole record. This is one of those classics, it's just an all-time classic record of metal tinged hardcore. It's a wild record, and I had to have it on my list. Clevo, was this shortlisted for you, or did you not even need to do that because you're going to pick them in round 1?
Once I knew I had the second pick, I knew that I was going to take that. But when we did the year that the demo came up, I can't remember. I might have taken Necropolis for that. I can't remember which song.
That's right. You may have. Well, hell yeah. Me and Clevo got those picks on lock, and let's send it over to the Aquatic Weasel for his number 4.
I should be doing the Pauly Shore thing. Isn't he the weasel? I don't know. He sucks.
He wheezes the juice.
He's the weak.
Right.
So
So bad. It's so not funny that I'm laughing. Oop, I guess he wins. My next pick, my number 4, is going to be one of the only bands I can think of in all of history from the state of West Virginia. And that is the band Lincoln. The song is Union off the EP, the 7-inch EP Union. Lincoln is a weird, it's so perfect that they're from West Virginia because it's like, what do bands from West Virginia sound like? Like where, like they're such an enigma. And I think I figured them out. They're like Discord filtered through metalcore. That's what they are. If you took Discord music and you just made all the guitars really chunky and then had these like crazy like metallic breakdown parts in the songs, you get Lincoln. And geographically they're halfway between, the Northeast and DC, so it kind of makes sense. This song, and I don't know if you'd call them screamo, that there is a lot of screaming, but they're not, I wouldn't even say that they're really emo. Like they're not, unless just the emotion of anger counts as emo, which it doesn't because hardcore in general is just angry. I'd love to read an interview with anyone from this band. They're such, to this day, a mystery to me. I traded a piece of furniture with a member of Undertow for this 7-inch on colored vinyl. And this just got reissued as a discography. And the discography is only like 9 songs. That's all they ever recorded, something like that. There's a video on YouTube of them playing someone's backyard, and the drumming is just next level. Like the drumming, I don't know if by listening to the studio recordings, you can really pick up on how insanely good the drummer is and how creative he is, but watch that YouTube video. I'll send it to you, Zach, because you appreciate a good drummer as much as anyone. I'll send that video to you because it's like, wow, this guy is like functioning on a separate plane. I hope at least one of you is familiar with this band. Otherwise, I'm just talking to the abyss. But has anyone heard this?
Well, yeah,
Lincoln.
yeah,
can you hear me?
I think probably most known for the split with Hoover.
Yeah, so good.
You know what's sick, dude, is Lincoln, and the song is Union. And like Lincoln was all about preserving the Union, man. It's like deep. But also, I like this. I think Pops rated them pretty high on his 90s list. And it was one of those bands that I had never heard. And then I went and checked it out. And they were one of the bands that I'd never heard that I was pretty impressed by. So that was sick. And I'm stoked that it's on the playlist. Is it on streaming, Ben, now that it got re-released?
It is.
So I think that they might be kind of new to streaming, because I believe when we did the 90s list, I had to dig around and find an MP3 of them. Like it wasn't readily available.
Yeah, I think that's right. When this stuff got reissued, maybe late last year, it got put on streaming, and the discography is also available on compact disc. So bringing it back to 1993 format wise. So of course I had to cop that.
That rules. I love that. Okay, sick pick, and I'm glad this is on the playlist. I'm stoked. Just like Statue, you plucking out a song. I listened to Lincoln briefly, enjoyed it, but now I got a song to hone in on. So that is sick. Dan, if you don't pick Eden's Demise, that's gonna be some bullshit.
I'm not.
Oh, I thought you were going to do Eden's Demise and then finish out on your number 7 with another, or your next one with another Fugazi song, and then, I don't know, pull some Earth Crisis demo track off the first LP.
Actually, probably the demo is early 93, so.
It is.
Yeah, so there's some stuff that shows up on Destroy the Machines that's on that demo, so I could have done it, but I don't know which song to go to. I've got the 2 here, and I've got to choose one of them. between Phaser and Head to Wall. Oh God, I could just flip a coin. I gotta go Head to Wall. Quicksand.
Crazy that it took to round 5. I would have thought round 1 by one of you dudes.
I would have thought Ben would have taken him round 1, but he wanted to screw me, so he didn't, because he's an aquatic weasel.
I would have screwed you on this if I had taken it round 1.
True, but I could have taken Phaser. The way this opens with the do 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 do, it's just got so much atmosphere, so much like groove, and Walter's voice is so good. And what's great about it is like his voice is like it's kind of shredded but very tuneful at the same time. Relaxing time, you know. He nails it. It's so good, and the negative space in this song do so much for it. Much the same way like Unseen Holocaust, like the negative space like runs that song. It really works really well on this song too, and I love the. I mean, I'm not technically knowledgeable about what guitars do, but it seems like the octaves or the way that the guitar transitions for the like the almost like overdrivey type part that goes in for the chorus, like just ramps it up. And the lyrics are really good about, you know, basically frustration and just, you know, head to wall, like, fuck, this sucks. Like, I don't know. It's an incredible song. This is an incredible album, and it was an incredible shift in the dynamic of, I mean, everybody loved this record in 93.
Pun intended.
But for real, everyone loved it, you know? So anyway, thoughts?
Ben, you want to speak on this, or are you going to hold out until you pull a song off it?
I had a song on my short list that I'm not going to do, but I do want to speak on this. The thing that's happening in the chorus is the guitar is playing the same octave the entire time, and then the bass is changing underneath it, which is a thing that I think they call that pedal notes. Like Joy Division does it a lot, where you have one instrument staying constant while the other instrument does different stuff. Yeah, it's an incredible song. This is a great album. It was really hard for me to narrow it down to one song to pick off of this. So there's just so many choices. For a long time, I always thought the second album was the better one, and I was completely alone in that assessment. And now I'm thinking, maybe everyone else in the world is right, and this album is the better one. But you can't go wrong.
Second album better too.
You like the second album better? Okay.
Yeah.
Everything pre-reunion is top notch, and they're like a real rock band. Like they're a hard rock band, and I guess they're more like historically speaking, like thought of in the alternative rock mode. Because you know everyone's trying to sign the next Nirvana, all these A&R guys and gals trying to sign the next Nirvana, so they're picking off all these people from the punk scene, the hardcore scene, trying to do this alternative rock thing. And I always think of this band as like hard rock, but not like obviously not like Poison or some Hair Farmer type band like that, but just like they're hard and they rock. They're hard rock. Maybe like a less goofy Tool.
Hell yeah. Okay, Clevo, you want to speak on this, or do you want to take your next pick?
I had 2 songs picked from this LP, and one of them was Head to Wall. And I'm going to take the risk and come back to it because I'm going to take with my 5th pick, Leatherface, Do the Right Thing, off of the album Minx. Again, when we talked about 91 was the last one we did. We talked quite a bit about Leatherface. This is another great song that they did, and just like lyrically, Frankie just turns a phrase with this one. Again, just like his delivery, the music. It's that, like I said last time, it's that Lemmy singing for Jawbreaker, and the same sort of literary lyrics. Yeah, it's Leatherface. It sounds like Leatherface. If you've heard him before, it's not going to break new ground. If you haven't heard them before, this is actually a good entree into something that's not on the album Mush. So I love this song. It's a great song, great melody, and just like the lyrics, like the choruses when he's like, "You can have me if you want," and there's like the doubled vocals or whatever that's on there. I love this.
Yeah, this is probably the second best Leatherface album past Mush, but I don't know. Like Mush is just so perfect, and it has a certain brightness to it. This has a little less brightness and a little less urgency in the songs, like, which I think that based on personal preference, people could possibly like this one more. Maybe it's a little bit more laid back than Mush. I don't know. I was listening to it today. This was on my short list of 3 songs for this record. I'm going to take something else on my honorable mentions, but this record is still really good. Although I think that it's pretty undeniable that Mush is like the best entry point. But
I agree. There's the Compact and Bijou 7-inch, which actually the song Dreaming is on, and that actually the original LP version of this came with a bonus 7-inch, and Dreaming is also on there, but it technically came out in 92, so I didn't take that because that's a great song. They also did a bunch of Peel sessions around this time. John Peel loved these guys, had him on quite a few times, and some of those versions, if you can track them down, are also really good.
I am going to take the song Crash and Burn by the band Neglect. And I love this song, and they're doing something in the song that I wish was done more in hardcore. It's a simple, like, riffage thing, and it's best done here. It's best done on the first Blood for Blood LP, and then replicated the best I could possibly do on In Control of the Truth Hurts. But it's just going on the guitar. It sounds so hard when like the drummer is just doing like that slower beat, and the guitar is going over the top of it. So savage. This song does it on the verses, and then that chorus, the crash and burn, crash, crash, crash. It's sick. Little trick, like doing a little bit of echo on the vocals to make it sound even more sinister. This guy's got a great voice. Neglect is a cool band that I know very little about. They just had a reputation as being kind of like the most negative band. And I don't know. I only ever had the split 7-inch with Hatebreed, and that song wasn't super standout to me. But after the Blogspot era, I got most of their stuff and dug them. They're like one of those bands put on Take the Ride, because a lot of the songs are long, hard to like narrow into a single song. But this is a good one. This is a pull off track. The song's not super long, and it's super catchy and good and savage. So that is my choice. Is anyone familiar with this band or song and want to speak on it?
I had the song LSS on my short list. I love this band. It's like the most negative thing you can listen to, and it's like I know I probably have said about other bands, and it's like, oh, it's just kind of slow and plodding and just like on the E string, and this is slow and plodding and just like on the E string. But there's just something about how crazily negative and or like self-deprecating the lyrics are. Actually, my favorite stuff comes out in 94. The song that has the sample at the beginning where he's like, do you know, sometimes I feel like eating a bullet. It's like, but also isn't one of the songs that comes out this year has the same sample as the beginning of the Integrity LP, but it's not like chopped and screwed, so it's like the actual voice. Or did I just listen to that today for no reason? But yeah, it's on there. Yeah, I really do like this. The LSS's, because LSS's life support system, and in the middle of it when he's like, Grandma, pull the plug.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so negative.
That song is probably the hit, but it's almost, no one beat me up for this, but it's almost a little campy, right? So it's like they're going over the top with it, which is like great, but also it almost pulls me out of it a little bit.
But then is that the one? It's like my body's getting colder as I get. Oh man, it's like the lyrics are so. The lyrics they are a little campy, but they're also like, I don't know. It's definitely a vibe from the time.
Yes, yeah, and that one's over 4 minutes too. This one clocks in.
All the songs are so long.
Yeah, this one's only 3 minutes though, so it's the Blazer. It's the yeah, whatever. But yeah, this is sick. I'm glad to get on the playlist, and people neglect notable band to get into if you haven't. Okay, Ben, let's go to you for your number 5.
All right, I'm looking at my pick so far. We got Fugazi, Statue, Undertow, Lincoln. I need to get a little bit more melody in there. I need to get some pop punk in there. There is a band who has been putting out records since the 80s, and I was never a fan of, but goddamn, this song is perfect. And the song is called Deborah Jean, and the band is called The Queers from New Hampshire. They were on Lookout Records. They're sort of like, I guess the way it goes is Screeching Weasel is trying to sound like the Queers, because these two bands sound like each other. And I've always been a Screeching Weasel fan, and I've never been a Queers fan, which makes me a poser since the Queers came first. But goddamn, both these bands, like this whole scene, they love kind of openly worshiping the Ramones. And it's like, dude, I hate to break it to you fellas, you don't really sound like the Ramones. Oh, but this song does. This song sounds like the Shirelles could have done it in 1962, and then the Ramones punkified it in 1977. It is so perfect. It is like the perfect punk rock love song. I need to buy this album just to have this song, because I've tried to get into other songs by the Queers and I can't do it. I think a girl group should go back and record this song like, Phil Spector 1962 style, like reverse engineer it, because that's exactly what it sounds like. It's up there with I Want to Be Your Boyfriend. It's up there with Oh, I Love Her So by the Ramones, or, Kiss Me Deadly by Generation X. Top tier, top 5 or 10, probably top 5 punk rock love songs ever. Deborah Jean, The Queers.
Yeah, you guys call like that Epitaph stuff pop punk, and I think that it needs a different carve out. This is like what I consider pop punk, like melodic, not super fast. It has kind of like that snotty voice on top of it, and yeah, the Queers. We used to have that album Beat Off on tape, and like listen to it on tour a lot. It was good. They are very similar to Screeching Weasel. Although I've always thought that like Screeching Weasel, their highs and lows are very epic. And the Queers, at least that album, the one that I was familiar with, was like, it's like the Queers are just putting a bunch of 7s out there, right? Like on that album, they didn't have any shitty songs, and they didn't have any like 10 out of 10 songs. It was just all like pretty good. This is B level, good, and B not as a knock. Like all our songs are Bs. They're solid, good. But Screeching Weasel has like the 10 out of 10 songs, and then they have the songs where they eat their dick and they're fucking terrible, And this is just more consistent. Although I am looking forward to hearing the song, because I am not familiar with it at all. Like I said, I just had the album Beat Off, and I've never heard this before. So sick. Dan, you want to touch this, or you want to take your number 6?
Yeah, this song is a complete girl group jammer, but do you know what? My favorite song off this record is Fuck the World, because it has that really like catchy chorus, fuck the world, I'm hanging out with you tonight. It's very
I thought that was your That's your favorite E-Town record.
Yeah, that too.
Sick, me too. Okay, Dan, number 6.
Okay. I'm gonna have to. Well, I'm not gonna have to, but I'm going to go with Unbroken, and I'm gonna go with Break Me Down. As we've stated many times before on the pod, and this is a well-worn line of Zach's, you can never have too many anti-racist songs. And this is a really good one. This is giving you that almost like preview to what's to come with Life, Love, Regret, but not quite. You know, it's still Unbroken, like finding their sound, but this song is really good. And it does have that part that gives it that early 90s, almost like kind of the way that a lot of things were being recorded around, you know, the early 90s, where there was like a studio trick here or there, like break me down. That part on this is kind of like that, but it's such a great song, and it is showing you the way that Unbroken are gonna. I mean, I really love the song for what it is, but it also is that little peak of like, oh, this is a band that is about to embark upon greatness. I think this is something that like I've spent a lot of time with, so there may be a reason that might be one of the reasons that it's on here, because there is so many other good songs that I could take from other bands in this era, like almost bands that sound very similar, like an Abananda. I really like the Abananda record that came out this year too, but I really love how this is talking about, you know, racism and ignorance is passed down. It's not only passed down from, you know, family down, and that's how you learn hate, but it's also systematic, and you have to like really struggle to break free of bias and racism. And this song really, really stands up and says that. And, you know, the same way that Cutting Away has the, you know, anthemic thing about not being broken, this song at the end like really does also. And, you know, I love it.
Hell yeah. You know, we talked this album a little bit on when we did that segment. I don't know what episode, but it was like best songs off albums that aren't the best. And I think Ben took 0 Hour, but it was this crew that we were talking that. So I was surprised that you didn't go 0 Hour, the first song, and I think by far the best song off this LP. But that's sick that you plucked another one. I'm looking forward to diving into it on the playlist. Because yeah, this is not my go-to Unbroken stuff. Clevo, what's your number 6?
I'm going to go a little bit out of left field. I'm actually going to take Pennywise off the Unknown Road LP, and I'm taking the song Dying to Know. We mentioned before, or you mentioned, you know, that Hyena is on the first Punkorama. And really, the first Punkorama tape comes out the next year. You know, Hyena's on there. And this song is also on there. And I, you know, I got that tape, and I really I was really psyched and kind of fell into a lot of the Epitaph stuff that I had missed that wasn't Bad Religion over the past few years when I was kind of out of it. And I really did get into this and the you know, we talked a little about the first Pennywise album last time we recorded. You know, after this, I kind of lost interest in them, but I still go back to this album from time to time. I think this song, you know, just kind of hits. You know, when he's just kind of like singing, and then it goes into the chorus, and he repeats himself, and then there's, you know, he sings on the actual chorus where he's like, "I'm dying to know," and he sings, and then it goes into the solo. Yeah, it's Pennywise. You know, it might be the uncool pick, but I really do love this song.
I had Unknown Road on my short list. This LP of when I revisited 93, this was one of my biggest bummers. This and the Propaganda LP. Because I always thought that the first two Pennywise LPs were great, and I still think the first one is great, and this one was such a bummer. The Unknown Road song, I think, is still good. This song used to be one of my favorite songs, but Dan and Ben, this is that song off whatever Cinema Beer thing I think we did, right? When he tries to sing all like on that second verse, like, well, the good book says love shall be the best thing you can feel. Like he's trying to be all that guy, you know?
He's being Reverend Lovejoy.
It's pretty bad. But like this song, like the spirit of it kicks ass. Like the slow to fast. It's like that new school punk sound, but it's got that old school, like California hardcore where it goes slow to fast, and you can almost just picture the pit, right? Like dudes like kind of walking or skipping and then like speeding up and just smashing foos. So I don't know.
He's like, is everything I try to hide, I'm threatened by a suicide. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I think that's so catchy.
Yes, it's catchy, like in the way that's like, oh, is this great or is this terrible? You know, and like that's some of the best shit is like when it's like, dude, is this great or is this terrible? But it leans great. And this one is like, fuck, I don't know, dude. For a long time, I thought this was great. And now I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Well, if we would have made this list in 93 or 94, this might have been this or Hyena probably would have been my first pick. So,
dude, respect. I'm with you, dog. Like for sure. You know, like those two and American Jesus right there. And I love that this is on the list because all you butthurt fools on Instagram, eat it. You know, it's on the playlist. So what's up? You know, although it's getting beaten down by it's getting beaten down by 3 Fugazi songs. So maybe I need to choose 2 Pennywise songs to even the score, you know? But it's not going to happen now. I am going to take a song. It's this band's last record, I believe. I Am a Crust Poser to the 9th degree. Definitely one of the genres I pose on hard. But I love this record. It's Anti-Cimex, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, off their final LP, The Scandinavian Jawbreaker. They're mostly known, I believe, for that first 7-inch they did, the Raped Ass 7-inch. Beautiful name. That came out in the early 80s. And that shit is wild. I love that too. But this, for being like a D-beat band in the early 90s, like this recording is so good and so bright. And I was considering taking Only in Dreams, which is such an ill song because it's kind of sick, right? Like the D-beat evolves because Discharge is like doing a Motorhead beat, but speeding it up a tiny bit. And that song Only in Dreams by this band like is the sickest Motorhead riff that isn't a Motorhead song. So I was close on that one. That's on my short list, but I'm taking Of Ice just because that sounds so sick. What's up? The song called Of Ice. And it's a D-beat song. And it is wild because I remember talking to Pops back when, and he was saying that a lot of hardcore, like the knock on it would be that it doesn't swing like a lot of guitar-based music does. Like it has a swing to it, and a lot of hardcore doesn't. But this song is fucking wild. Like what it's doing on the ride cymbal during the verses, it's doing like a straight swing beat over the top of a D-beat song. And it's just like one of those things that I listen to and it's like, well, this is a mind fuck. You know what I mean? Like we had talked about that Gehenna song on the year end lists, and like it's one of those ones where I listen to it and I love it, even though it's like my mind is like being fucked. This is one like that as well. I'm like, what is going on? This is so wild, but I love it so much. Also, there's a great solo on this, and again, like the recording is great. Like this is ill. I love it. So everyone check it out. Anti-Cimex, if I'm pronouncing that properly. I don't know. They're Swedish, so I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. And then the song is Of Ice. Does anyone have anything on this or this band?
I think you're pronouncing it right. And this song is so rad. Like the way the beginning is just the drummer is just doing a million like snare rolls, like, and then when it kicks into the verse beat, like you were saying, it almost feels like it's too fast, like it's ahead of the music, but it's pure crust, and his voice is epic.
It's because he's doing a weird beat on the ride, which like makes it sound kind of wonky and off tempo, but he's doing like a straight D beat with like the kick drum and the snare. It's fucking wild. Everyone check it out. It is so good. And then also check out that Only in Dreams song for the greatest Motorhead riff that's not Motorhead. Okay, Ben, let's go to you for your number 6.
All right. No list would be complete in a year that Pegboy made a record. Of course, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we have done years where I didn't pick a Pegboy record, but Minutes to Hours off the Pegboy EP 4. That's FORE. It's a play on words because there are 4 songs on this, and there is a photo of 2 guys golfing on the cover. This is sort of a really brooding, slow verses and then fast, kind of like mid-tempo punk choruses. Pegboy is like a totally like how to tastefully do melodic punk in the fart rock era and avoid like all the pop punk traps that a lot of Epitaph stuff and a lot even Lookout stuff falls into. Just one of my favorite bands from this time period. The vocals are like kind of gruff and husky. You don't have that nasal whiny pop punk voice. I don't know. I'd be curious to know how much of a crossover in their fanship there is with like the Lookout or the Epitaph stuff. I think there's a lot, which is strange because they really are a continuation of Naked Raygun. It's the original guitarist of Naked Raygun's next band. Been a fan since 91, I think, when I first heard the Menescape video. This is the kind of the stopgap EP between the first 2 albums. And I want to say Steve Albini engineered it, which is kind of funny because he's like known for all this, Nirvana, Pixies, and his own bands, Shellac and Rape Man, like bands that have nothing to do with this kind of music, but he's a Chicago guy and they're Chicago bands. So I guess it makes sense in that respect. So that's what I got. Minutes to Hours by Pegboy.
That rules. I am only familiar with the Pegboy LP material, so I am stoked to dive into this. I don't think I have any of the 7 inches. Well, Dan, you got 2 songs in your first round, so we will skip right to Clevo for his number 7. Just playing. Heartbreak round. Dan, what is your last pick?
Okay. It really is heartbreaking because, my list of honorable mentions will actually be pretty long. But I've got to go with, and it's kind of like a nod to where Ben went just recently with his Queers pick, because I'm going to go with a song that is also very on the girl group tip, and just the kind of like looking at it in a different way. I'm going with Bikini Kill, Rebel Girl. Now, everyone's heard this song a billion times. I want you to divorce that from your mind right now and think about listening to this for the first time. Like, it's so fucking good, so catchy, so full of attitude, so full of like swagger, and it's just awesome. Like about, that take on, the rebel boy trope in lots of girl group songs, doing it this way in a very punk method, but then talking about the revolution and like the Riot Girl mindset going that way, and there's some like so good lines in this, like, I mean, the way it starts out, that girl thinks she's the queen of the neighborhood, but like everyone like is admitting it. Yeah, she is. But I love the lines where it's like, when she walks, the revolution's coming. In her hips, there's revolution. Like it's so good with, and then the I want to try on your clothes. Like those elements of like looking up to someone in the scene or something like that. We've all had those people that have been the people that have marked our way coming up in hardcore and punk that we've just looked at and been like, man, that guy's so fucking cool, or that girl is so like just awesome, like everything about him's so cool. And not just, I mean, outside of hardcore as well, there's just been tastemakers out there that are just got so much swagger that you just, like you lot all look up to me,
And then like all of us look up to Mike Ness.
Yes, like you do with his lyrical writing for Sick Boy.
That's right.
But no, this song is just, it was still there, and I've got to take it. It's just so good. Like, and yes, it is arguably one of their most popular songs, if not the most popular song. But that doesn't detract. It only enhances for how good this song is.
Yeah, I hate this now. Team Mandel all day. All right, Clevo, let's go to you for your number 7.
Keeping with the trend of me always picking something that is not on Spotify. I'm totally taking a not on Spotify, but I'm going to take the song "Did You" by the band Cop Out, because I feel like not enough people talk about them or maybe know about them. Cop Out was a band from Memphis. It is pre-Death Threat, pre-Tragedy, pre-Talk is Poison. Another spastic, straightforward, fast hardcore, kind of in the vein of Krudos. It's just crazy. It's a minute long, but it's also has those, sort of, you turned your back on us. Why aren't you part of the scene anymore lyrics? Because, there's only so many topics hardcore songs can really be about, and being stabbed in the back is one of them. But yeah, this is really good. They had an EP, they had a split, and they had like a song on, they had like a song on a comp on it's right in front of me. I can't find it. Never mind. They, or like one or two songs, a song on a Slap a Ham comp, and also a song on a comp that Martin from Krudos put out. So, sorry, Martine from Krudos put out. So, yeah, it's, it is on Bandcamp. The EP is on Bandcamp if you want to check it out. But, yeah, unfortunately, this is probably never going to make it to Spotify. And, it's like fairly rare record, but it's fucking great if you can find it.
Hell yeah. I'm not familiar with this at all. So I will track down that Bandcamp and handle business. Ben or Dan, you familiar with this at all?
I'm not. No.
Only by name.
Yeah.
Only by name.
Cool. All right. Well, it is our mission to get over to that Bandcamp and check it out, because Clevo is showing us the way to that music that brings the heat. All right, my final pick, round number 7, Heartbreaking Band. Okay, I think organized religion is stupid. I think religion and hardcore is even dumber, and especially when it's some misogynistic bullshit, right? Like women can't be gurus or whatever. Get the fuck out of here. That's stupid. We believe in equality, right? Anti-racism, unity. And then it seems so dumb that, like, to bring religion into something when it is, putting some people on pedestals and some people can only worship. But regardless of all that, I am picking a Shelter song. I am taking the song Busy Doing Nothing off their LP of this year, which I believe is, let me see, what is the LP called? Blah, 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 blah.
Attaining the Supreme.
I'm on the wrong list. Yeah, Attaining the Supreme. The second best Shelter record behind Beyond Planet Earth. And this song kicks ass, though. First of all, the bass solos, so ill. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. So sick on like that breakdown. right after like Ray goes, "So slow it down." Like, I don't know, that part just like gives me chills. I love this record a lot. One of my first jobs was working at Laser Star in Oxnard, and I was like the guy that had to show like the kids how to play laser tag and then like go in and kind of be like the lifeguard, you know, and like make sure that like don't run, don't have too much fun. It was really terrible. But in the evening, the manager was pretty cool and he let me play my own music in there. Like normally it was like, I don't know, techno and shit. But in the evening, they let me play my own music as long as there was no bad words. And I had 2 CDs that had no bad words. One was a censored version of Warren G. Regulate, which was given to me by Posy Josh of Carry On. And this CD, Shelter Attaining the Supreme. And I played the fuck out of those 2 CDs at Laser Star. And this song and then that song Better Way are the 2 best songs of this record, I think. But this one like just gives me chills. It's so good. And Shelter, when they play like fast music, they bring the heat. You know, it's so good. And Ray's voice is so good on this. Like not doing like the Ray Capo that we know and love, you know, when he's really bringing the heat. But this is great. It's not super whiny. And yeah, I love the song. I would not be true to myself if I didn't put this on my list, even though, dude, that is ridiculous that, like, you know, there's only male gurus and we're not worshiping what women are laying down. So handle business, treat everyone equally, or go fuck yourself. Anyone want to speak on this, or should we go to Ben for his final pick?
I do. I want to speak on this.
All right.
I think I got this album maybe at the beginning of 94. I think I was late to getting this album. I don't know. Somewhere around this time in the decade, I got this album. I listened to it so much. And I don't really go back to it very often. But that's a good pick. And there's a song about, like, I'm no consumer, something like that on this album. And I remember going to my... God, was it like a poli-sci teacher in high school? And I'm like, the lyrics are exactly what you were talking about yesterday. And play it for the class. And he listened to it and he goes, I can't make out any of the lyrics. And I'm thinking, you know how like normal people always say that about punk? Like, you can't understand what they're saying. It's like, this guy couldn't understand what Ray Capo was saying. It's like, so it's clear as fucking day, but whatever. Okay.
Well, this has got some of that in there too. Like there's this great lyric on the song when it's like, the desire to acquire everything you see, you know, so good. But desire to acquire, like just like that, is so good, dude. I love it. Okay, anyone else want to speak on this, or we go into Ben for his final pick?
I thought you were, with that build up, I thought you were going to be going Holy Name 108.
I'm surprised that you guys didn't go. You guys are the 108 lovers.
Yeah.
Well, 185.
So I'm sure it's going to hit some honorable mentions. Okay, Ben, final pick.
This is hard because there's so many left on the table, but I'm going to pick something. I guess this is pretty left field. There was a band called Braid and another band called Hey Mercedes. This is like right when emo was about to break into the mainstream, late 90s, early 2000s. And I didn't like those bands at all. But some of those dudes were in a punk band going back to the early 90s called Friction. And Friction is awesome. And the song is called Squelch. It's the first song on their album Blurred in 6. All the stuff is on streaming now. They put out a discography many years later. It's all there. It's sort of like the halfway point between pop punk and emo. Actually, I'd say it's a little bit more punk and less emo. At least this song, it's rocking. It's kind of melodic mid-tempo punk with tons of octaves. This is definitely the era of the octaves. I'd say at least the first half of this song, Zach might even ride for. There was this little scene. I think it started with Gage, and then Friction and Cap'n Jazz were like other bands that came along. And then from those 3 bands, I think, you know, those bands broke up, they started other bands, and now when people say the term Midwestern emo or Midwest emo, whatever, they're talking about that family of bands. So this is the very beginning of that, when it's still very much punk rock. And it's a very summer feel good song. Squelch. Have any of you ever heard Friction?
Nope, but I'm a fan of Friction.
I bet you are.
Clevo, were you going to say something?
I have not heard this.
Okay. Then you're in for a
Dan,
treat.
how about you? Are you a poser as well?
I'm friction posing.
God damn, bunch of posers on this podcast, dude. But at least Ben keeps it real. That is sick. Okay, let's go to Dan. Honorable mentions.
Okay. Honorable mentions, I've got to say, Born Against the Fucking Dead. The Promise, Ringworm. Like, it's so good. This year, like, it is weird that there's so much good stuff mixed in with so much bad stuff. So I didn't go back and revisit Propaganda, Zach, and you said that it just definitely didn't hold up. It was terrible.
Well, it's because of like our recent, like, okay, how do you feel about Fat Mike, Dan?
I don't like him at all.
Yeah, and so like even songs I used to kind of like, I just can't stand them anymore.
Yeah.
And this just sounds kind of like that to me.
Yeah.
No, it just sounds a lot like NoFX, and I don't know. I mean, like they hated it. I saw some. I think it might have been on the Fat Records documentary. Like Propaganda was shitting all over this record, saying like, they hate that Ryan Green sound.
Yeah.
And it really does sound like NoFX. And then his vocals are kind of like, okay, these people don't sound at all alike, but like Ian when he sings on kind of anything. Post Minor Threat, like, is very like abrasive. Like it kind of pulls you out of just bobbing your head.
Yeah.
He's like one of those singers, like he does such a good job of like grabbing your attention, but he's grabbing my attention in kind of like the Fat Mike way. And it just, I really didn't like it. I loved this album. I listened to this album so much way back when, and I went into this thinking like, it's going to be so hard to narrow down like a Propaganda song. Like
I listened to it a lot this year. So I was thinking Anti-Manifesto just because it opens and it's saying a lot for this sound of a very bro-ish sound that the lyrics are completely not like that,
Well, I love that like you still love it, right? Because I don't want my shitty attitude on this to like ruin it for anyone, because I loved this record, and like that Pennywise and this were like the two biggest bum outs of me.
Well, I didn't re-listen to this because when I was flicking through stuff, I didn't think anything would make it to my list, so I didn't spend time. But I will do a re-listen to this and see if I hate it.
So I listened to it today, and I think when they're being stupid, it's awful.
Yeah.
But I think like. And I really think like what you were saying is like a song like Fuck Machine. I think it like kind of deserves to be on the list just because of what the song says and how, again, like 1993 was 30 years ago. Like, not a lot of bands were saying that, and definitely not fat bands were coming across the message like that. So I think it's really important, even if they hate the record, even if it does sound very Fat Mikey, I think there's a lot of good messages on the record. But there's like probably 3 songs, like you said, Anti-Manifesto, Head, Chest, or Foot, Fuck Machine, and
Scar Sucks.
Yeah, well, also I think that there's some bad political messages on here as well. Like that if you're dumb enough to vote, like okay, dude, like that kind of okay, there was a lot of people that thought that, right? Oh, both sides are bad and stayed home, and you got Trump that got a bunch of Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe. So good job. If you're dumb enough to vote, you're dumb enough to believe them.
But how old were they when they said that too? I mean, they were smart enough. They were smart enough to say some other stuff, but like, like they do come off as really young on this record, you know, sometimes, and like saying like they do say some shit, but you know, whatever.
No, that's fair. And I think one bad opinion doesn't invalidate everything. We can discuss that they have good ideas on here too, but it's just because they're smart also doesn't mean that all their ideas are righteous either.
Yeah, true.
With
You
anyone.
know? No, absolutely. But I do feel like sometimes, you know, as a person of average intelligence, you know, sometimes when people speak well, you know, or they have some ideas that I think are smart, it's easy to like get behind them, right? And think, okay, well, this guy's smarter than me. He has some ideas I agree with. He must like be pretty righteous, right? And follow him or her, you know, but everyone has bad ideas, right? And just because you got some good ones doesn't mean you're immune from being an idiot sometimes. And that's like me, you know, like just listen to me. I'm righteous 90% of the time, but 10% of the time, fuck, I'm going to lead you astray. Sorry, everyone. But yeah, just like this, distracting from Dan's honorable mentions list.
That's all right. I like these combos. All right, I'm going to jump back in. Where's Equality? Refused. Facet Squared. Fugazi. Eden's Demise. Earth Crisis. Phaser. Quicksand. 0 Hour. Unbroken. Stalemate. Undertow. I'm surprised that song didn't get on there as well, but you know. Peter Brady, Screeching Weasel, Incarnation, Snapcase. That was really close to being on my list. Because if I was, you know, extremely being true to myself at the timing of this, Incarnation was a massive song at the time. I'm sure the Aquatic Weasel can agree with me there. Janelle, that by Born Against, an interesting song because it was on the Born Against Screeching Weasel split where they wrote the lyrics for each other's songs. So that was a pretty interesting split. So Janelle is like the total Screeching Weasel like song about a girl, and Screeching Weasel did a song called El Mazote, which was also very good. That was about like the U.S. government in other CIA in other countries just fucking things up, and it was pretty interesting to hear Screeching Weasel sing like that. Anyway, In Your Face by Spitboy, Adina, Hyena, Detroit, Trenches, and Get Out of My Way, all on the first Rancid LP. That's probably why I didn't dial in one of the songs, because I couldn't just get it down to that. Have you ever seen The Rain on the Ramones record? That just has a weird little special place in my heart from, you know, trying to find the best stuff in the final Ramones death rattle. I think that's where I'll leave it. Obviously, there's tons of stuff by Leatherface, Rorschach, Mike Judge, and Old Smoke for humorous reasons, but I'll let you guys get a lot more stuff on. But you know, I really liked a lot of the Epiphat stuff in this year too, like the Tilt record and stuff. But I can't think of anything that just stands out as a single track at this point. So go ahead and hit us with your stuff.
Clevo, honorable mentions.
Quicksand, Dine Alone, Bulldoze, The Truth off of their demo. I had Anti-CMX 2, Chino Horde, and Current. Not necessarily their split. They both put out records this year. Hyena, like we already said. Bruisers, Cruising for a Bruisin', specifically the song To the End. Unbroken 0 Hour, Bored Against Are Fucking Dead. You better be extremely fucking cautious. Garden Varieties, self-titled LP. Bold Always Try from Looking Back, because that version is specific to that album and it only came out that year. The Drop Dead self-titled from 1993, the opening track Hopeless. Band from Massachusetts, Dive, featuring members of Get High and the Dropkick Murphys. They put out a 7-inch this year. The Lincoln Hoover Split, 108 Holy Name, the Swizz Rejects 7-inch. Post HR Bad Brains, specifically the song Rise, and Snapcase Incarnation. Like Dan said, a couple weeks ago, I sent Ben some videos of Lifetime from an Instagram account, and then I was scrolling through that account the other day, and there's a video of Snapcase playing Incarnation at the Fireside Bowl, and it's one of those where so many people are singing along. That's all you hear. You don't even hear the band playing. Which, time and place, man. Every kid you saw had a Snapcase shirt on and probably was singing along to that song. Unfortunately for the dude in the band wearing those overalls on the back of that record, though, bad luck.
Man, okay. I did not realize that Bulldoze came out that year. I thought it was 94. That would have been my number 2 pick. Bummer.
Yeah, The Truth. That's a fucking, yeah.
That's a track. Okay. I had Undertow Stalemate. I thought Ben would take this, the Ramones song My Back Pages. So good for a late Ramones track. The Leatherface song I had is Don't Work. Conflict, I believe, puts out their final LP this year. That song Someday Soon is so good. Almost made my list. Also, fun fact about that LP. I don't know if they're trolling us or not, but it says it was recorded in Alaska. And so I don't know if that's bullshit or not, but fun fact of that record, someone let us know if that's real or not, or if they're just fucking around. Pennywise Unknown Road, No Use for a Name, Feeding the Fire, which I was talking to Ben before we started recording, has the weirdest kick drum. It sounds like he's just doing on the one of every bar.
Measure.
It's very fucked up. Every measure. But yeah, that song still kicks ass. But what the fuck is up with that kick drum? The Bruiser song I chose off this record is Raise Your Glass. What's Up to My Old Days. Pennywise, the song Nothing. Slapshot with their song off Cinema Birte, Wired. Dun 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 da 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 da. Boston Hardcore Forever. Clevo, Am I Right? Ill Repute, Jamie Just. Propagandy, the song that I chose begrudgingly because this motherfucker sounds like Fat Mike. Who Will Help Me Bake, ... Didn't write the rest of it. Unbroken, 0 Hour, Bad Brains, Peace of Mind was the song I plucked off that one. And for some idiotic reason, I wrote Ramones My Back Pages again. What is wrong with me? Ben, honorable mentions, you got 60 seconds.
Statue Fueling, Ashes, the entire first EP. I didn't pick it because it's not on Spotify, and I thought I'd just cooperate and pick stuff that's on Spotify. But I love Ashes. Current, Coliseum, Chino Horde, Undone and Over, Screeching Weasel, Inside Out, Screeching Weasel Like a Parasite, Scream, Gods Look Down. That's Dave Grohl on vocals there. Godspeed, April, that is the post-Turning Point Skip and J band. Unbroken, 0 Hour, Quicksand, Lie and Wait, Black Train Jack, No Reward, Scared Straight / 10-Foot Pole, the song Home, Mandingo, Stumble, Endpoint, the Aftertaste LP, Course of Disapproval, Seed of Pain, Take 1, Shelter, the song Shelter, that's the non-drum machine version. Sorry, Ray and Porcell drummer. Framework, Gatekeeper, Snapcase Incarnation, Flagman, Sometimes, 108, Slave, Iggy Pop, Wild America, Action Swingers, Searching for Kicks, Chicken Head, the Everything Must Go EP, All Guilty, Schleprock, 10 Speed, Smoking Popes, Not That Kind of Girlfriend, Ringworm, Numb and Blind to Faith, Split Lip, Division Street, Pennywise, Unknown Road, Garden Variety, Fall In, Cap'n Jazz, Troubled by Insects, and John Henry West, Avoiding, from the 3/12/93 comp, R.I.P. Sarah Kirsch.
Dan, final thoughts on 1993 and this episode.
Okay. Well, there was one honorable mention that I didn't get on, and it is kind of a final thought of what this year was like. So, Empty Cage by Still Life, and also In Time by Still Life. Still Life and bands of that ilk, of this, what is truly kind of emo, screamo perhaps. When you go back and listen to these kind of songs, they don't quite hold up on a listening thing, but it was so like insane to be in those rooms, and the level of emotion and like being wrapped up, especially as a young person. That's the things that I'll remember about 93, 94 and stuff, is that these bands that necessarily I wouldn't be listening to their records all the time, but the live transference of like absolute emotion and heartfelt performance. So when we go back and look at these records as just like, well, this is the output of the time and you can dive back in, there's a lot that isn't there that was felt in the moment. So that's all I'm going to say, is like some of these things haven't held up, but if you had the chance to see some of this stuff, like Clevo just brought up about Incarnation being a place and a time and it just being unbelievable, that's what this kind of era was like, because it is regarded universally as kind of like a lean time for hardcore, but there's jewels there, and there was jewels in the time of being there too. So just saying that, and you know, I really enjoy going back and trying to sift through, you know, stuff that isn't that great, but it like brings back tons of memories too. So it was a great episode, and I love talking core with all you lot.
Dude, I'm so pissed off that I didn't take The Truth. That is so fucked up.
Hey, you're gonna get nothing but a beatdown for that.
Dude, The Truth hurts. Okay, Clevo, final thoughts on this episode and this year?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's funny that we talked about how lean it was, and we still had, you know, 20 minutes of honorable mentions. So, you know, there's stuff there if you look, you know, there's always a scene, and there's always some gems out there if you're willing to look for them. You know, no matter what, when people say hardcore is dead, they just don't know what they're talking about. They're not looking hard enough. So,
yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's so much good stuff on here, and I think that, like, you know, one of the things that this podcast does well is we love like that big tent that, you know, punk and hardcore is under, and it's a good year if you love the big tent. You know, if you just like that narrow lane of straightforward hardcore, maybe it's not the best lane, but yeah, it's maybe it's not the best year. I mean, but yeah, fuck, Bulldoze the Truth came out this year, so you know it's a banger year. Fuck, Ben, final thoughts on the year and this episode.
Yeah, 93 is a really weird year, but weird is good sometimes. And if you are, you know, don't be closed-minded when us four, we picked these songs because they were the cream of the crop to us. And so if you're the kind of person who hates Fugazi, fucking just force yourself to listen to Great Cop and maybe you'll like it. I mean, that's your best chance if you're a kind of an old school punk rock type of person. And if you think you hate emo, you know, listen to Friction. Or if you think you hate fucking metalcore, I mean, you've heard Firestorm before, but whatever. Listen to like Ringworm. And if you think you hate D-Beat, listen to this Anti-Cymex song. Like, I think in any lane, there's stuff that's so good it should be able to transcend that lane or style of punk or hardcore. And I think a lot of this stuff does. Post-hardcore, Quicksand, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, give this music a listen. I think I'm gonna dig this playlist when it gets made, because I really liked a lot of the picks everyone else had.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing about this practice of doing these Super Sevens is you guys choosing songs that I've never heard before, and then being able to go and listen to them, because I love music and I love finding new stuff. And, you know, I only have people on this podcast where I respect your opinions. And so if you're saying a song is like one of the best 7 songs of an entire year in like a subgenre that I love, like it's probably going to be a sick song. You know what I mean? So I love to check it out. And there's enough on this playlist for me to sink my teeth into, stuff that I'm not fully familiar with, and some stuff that I am familiar with, but never like knew the right first bite to take. So I'm stoked. Thanks for rounding out the year, dudes. Dan, where can the people find you?
On Instagram at Southpaw Instagrammer, and every third Friday at the Whistle Stop in San Diego doing Fucking in the Bushes.
Clevo, where can people find you?
At Clevo on Instagram.
And Ben, where can the people find you?
At Cold Chillin' Book on Instagram.
And at SeaWorld.
Shit. Everyone, get at me 185 miles south at gmail.com. That is the best way. I respond to everyone. Also, 185 miles south on Instagram and Twitter. You can slide into those DMs if you want, but all bets are off because that shit is weird. I may not get back to you. My personal is Zach Retaliate on Instagram, and you know Retaliate is the best on Instagram. Everyone, we love you all. We will talk to you next Monday on Patreon.